It's good! But I do have concerns. Rogue One: A Star Wars Story is basically an experiment. It's a test case to see if people actually want to watch a Star Wars movie set in the universe, using all the familiar iconography and weapons and creatures and all the other various toys, but in different ways to make different types of movies outside the inner circle of the Jedi, the Sith, the Skywalker family, the Force, and all that. On one level, it's kind of a cynical move for Disney. It's a way for them to make sure they've always got a Star Wars thing stamped and ready for the holidays, while still making sort of different individual movies so we don't get sick of it all at once. But it's also a chance to see some maybe really cool stuff happen. And when Rogue One is doing cool, different stuff, that's when it's awesome. And fortunately, that's most of the time. The idea here is to make a gritty, CG, espionage-focused military story in the Star Wars universe, and right off the bat, it's cool to see the first Star Wars movie basically ever that isn't deliberately trying to mimic the look and feel of A New Hope. It doesn't have the traditional Star Wars editing, it doesn't have the regular transitions, it doesn't have the same cinematography, it's much more in the mix and handheld. It doesn't even follow the same beats and rhythms, is what I'm getting at. Sometimes the differences are more precise, since, it's still stormtroopers and blasters and X-Wings and all that, but it does end up feeling like a very different kind of Star Wars movie. Like, it's not Jessica Jones versus the Avengers movies different, but still pretty damn different. And a lot of that difference comes from just the premise. See, the big idea here is that this is the new story of how the rebels got the Death Star plans in A New Hope, and also why the Death Star had such an easily exploitable fatal weakness in the first place, now that Dark Forces is no longer officially canon. Felicity Jones' Jyn Erso is a street-tough nomad troublemaker, who also happens to be the daughter of the engineer the Empire has been forcing to build the Death Star, and when the Rebellion finds out he's looking to defect and reveal secrets like, for example, there's a thing called a Death Star, they scoop her up in order to use as leverage. Without spoiling too much, she eventually teams up with a too rebellious for the Rebellion group of scoundrels to get the job done and set the stage for all the stuff we already know happens because we've seen the other Star Wars movies. But since these kind of snatch and grab missions in wartime tend to be undertaken by the less than savory parts of an army, what we've got here is the first real Star Wars movie that's laser focused on the not nice parts of the Rebellion, and that's pretty fascinating. There's no Jedi presence in the movie, so all the usual business about the Force and balance and don't give in to your hate and be mean or you're just as bad as the bad guys doesn't really enter into it this time. The other movies are about the generals and the monks and the big picture sweep of history guys in the Rebellion. This one is about the dirty work guys who make all that bigger stuff possible. Like in the other movies, Han Solo is a smuggler and that's enough to make him sort of a bad guy among the good guys. But the heroes in this one are the dudes who don't get memorials when the war is over. The snipers, the assassins, the bomb throwers, the thieves, the outright murderers, the borderline terrorists. And when Rogue One is keeping to that territory of stuff you don't usually get from a Star Wars movie, it comes damn close to being Empire Strikes Back good. It doesn't get there, what the hell does, but on its own merits, it's pretty damn excellent, especially once it finds its groove at the midpoint and coalesces into a finale that is legit awe-inspiring. Do not let people spoil the ending for you. On the other hand, while the most welcome thing about it is that it's a new, different take on Star Wars, I did kind of find myself wishing that it was even more different. You see, the newness is a little jarring at first because it still looks and sounds enough like the other 7 movies that it takes a while to adjust to the fact that it's not going to follow the structural beats that you're used to. But once you do adjust, what I found instead was that the stuff that feels dropped in just to remind you that you're watching a Star Wars movie is the stuff that kept taking me out of it to one degree or another. Now, none of that is really fatal, but there's just a few too many cameos, callbacks, and fan service jokes leaning in from the margins. Some of them are cute, and there's only one major scene that feels like it's only there to give a certain popular character more screen time, but a few will make you feel like you're watching the special edition of a movie you didn't actually get to see the original version of. There's also a small issue that there's a pair of surprise cameos, I'm not going to tell you who, that end up being realized through fully integrated CGI because their respective actors have either passed away or aged considerably, and they don't look great, but on the other hand, if they don't keep experimenting with this technology, it's never going to get any better, so I don't know what you're going to do. To be honest, I'm also a little bit mixed on the music. The film has a John Williams sound-alike score from Michael Giacchino, and it sounds just fine, really. But I couldn't help but feel like something that works so hard not to look like another Star Wars movie should also maybe sound a lot different, maybe with a score that's not constantly referencing the classic themes. Apparently it had something like that at first, and the new score was brought in at the last minute to make it feel more Star Wars-y. I don't really know about that, I just know what my ears heard, and I think the score probably could have been a little more different, but that's just me. And still, while I indeed indeed had my issues, and they're kind of evenly spread across the whole movie, they are overall pretty minor. This is a damn good film, and I feel like it's maybe ripped the bandage off the potential of what a Star Wars movie can be going forward. That's exciting. I'm not super interested in the question of whether it's better than The Force Awakens. I feel like it's maybe more interesting. Overall, 3.5 stars, real good. You were gonna go see this no matter what I said about it, so go enjoy it. May the Force be with you.